Well, there are a few signs that indicate that perhaps you should check out the game Hell Let Loose. It does things very differently from a lot of other shooters. And while the theme of World War II might not even be completely your taste, the game has a lot of other things to offer. A very important sign is that you are fed up with the mainstream FPS shooter. Are you finding yourself bored with the shooter genre or perhaps games in general? After all, the trend for the last couple of years is that games need to quickly reward you without any effort. Only the fun stuff without the downsides. Unfortunately, our brain doesn't work like that, and by removing the struggles, the fun aspects are also diminished. No rewards without some effort. Most games nowadays include stuff like waypoints to all objectives, so you don't have to think for yourself and you just execute the tasks. Many shooters have you spawning right next to the action, so you can immediately satisfy your anticipation, and the only thing you have to do is point and click. Games treat you like a kid, rather than an adult. Hell Let Loose isn't like that though. This might be a game that you can actually enjoy. Hell Let Loose takes a similar approach to From Software games like Dark Souls and Elden Ring, in the sense that it's very difficult when you start playing. You need to learn the gameplay concepts and essential skills to survive and succeed. Concepts and skills that are different from the average shooter, so these are not second nature yet for the majority of the gamers. This means that you will actually have to learn new things, which might reignite your interest in playing shooters. But believe me, when you manage to learn and implement your new knowledge into your playstyle, this game will get significantly easier. The concept of delayed gratification is an important one. It is possible to spawn in and take the shortest route to the enemy and start shooting. This is what most people do, and is that a surprise? That's what years of conditioning does to you. The sad thing is that this is also the big reason why people quit playing Hell Let Loose. Throwing yourself into the meat grinder over and over again might work in other games, but in Hell Let Loose, however, enemies are often small pixels hundreds of meters away. They blend in perfectly and they will see you before you will see them, if you're running around. And you know, one shot means one kill in most cases in Hell Let Loose. The trick is to learn to use your map and other players in your team to locate enemy positions. If you got a general idea, you can decide on the best approach. You can take a wide detour as the maps are large and matches are long, so you can flank into a position that gives you the best angle. This means that you have to walk a little, but you can bring your own spawn point as a squad. So after the initial time investment, you can absolutely destroy the enemy. The beautiful thing is, because of the time investment and difficulty setting up proper attacks, the feeling is even better when stuff does work out. Hell Let Loose is not the only online shooter that incorporates this slower pace of gameplay. In fact, the milsim genre has a lot of these more complex systems, but these games often take a lot of time to learn. Hell Let Loose, however, is relatively accessible as there is still a lot of action, the player base is large, and it's even out on console. Learning the game is harder than most others, but still doable within a couple of hours, at least the basics, especially if you check out some YouTube videos on the subject. It's basically a mix between military simulation and a Battlefield-style experience. Playing Hell Let Loose will give you something new and interesting to learn, a fresh experience and higher highs and lower lows. If you're already a Hell Let Loose player, what do you think is so great about the game and why should people try it? Let other viewers know in the comments. The second sign that this game might be for you is that if you have a feeling deep inside that so much more is possible with today's gaming technology. Over the last decades, a massive surge in hardware specs launched the technological capabilities of modern gaming into space. Graphics massively increased, online gaming became huge, it became a mainstream hobby for many people across the world. Still, despite better graphics, traditional games still dominate the market, especially in the AAA market. Making games became so expensive that taking risks is something that large studios do less and less. In no way I want to say that Hell Let Loose is a perfect game, as there are definitely many complaints within the community due to bugs and whatnot, but this game makes possible what many gamers used to want from Battlefield as a kid, and I mean this in multiple different ways. Hell Let Loose is essentially a full-blown depiction of World War II with amazing graphics if you have a high-end system. It's authentic in terms of weapons, clothing, vehicles, health system and other things. Immersion is what the game is going for, and it definitely succeeds in doing this. Even if you aren't too familiar with the World War II theme, I recommend just watching some World War II movies like Saving Private Ryan and trying to immerse yourself. Apart from the authenticity, this is also in a large part due to the way the gameplay is set up. It's one large playground, completely organized by the players themselves, and there are many moving parts. For instance, all spawn points are made by the players, and the objective locations are randomized by the game, so every match is different. There's a huge amount of toys to play with. Different vehicles, player-controlled artillery, being able to build bunkers and other constructions, there are deployable anti-tank cannons, and more content is being added with each update. This is combined with the fact that players work in squads that consist of different classes that have to work closely together. So you can imagine, as this game centers around voice communication, this can lead to memorable moments and epic battles. I sometimes feel like I'm playing a single player campaign that is naturally unfolding in an online game, with other players talking to you, as the proximity chat really makes it sound like the voices are coming from the players themselves. If you play the game with some friends, or oftentimes with just some randoms, you can get completely caught up in a side quest. You decided to go for a flank through a small town in order to get behind the enemy objective point, but an enemy squad had the same idea. While the main meat grinder is unfolding somewhere else, you are now engaged in a small-scale battle in a remote little town in order to remove the enemy squad spawn point. After you succeed, you gain map control, as you can place a team spawn point and have a new angle to attack the enemy point from. These moments are even cooler if the enemy has built an anti-tank cannon or brings armor that you finally managed to take out. It's just a lot cooler than running and gunning and respawning all the time, if you get what I mean. This is basically what I hoped Battlefield, Medal of Honor or Call of Duty would evolve into. It's basically a night and day difference with Call of Duty World War II if you ever played that one. The third sign I want to talk about is that you enjoy the social aspect of games. Over the years, many games have implemented voice communication as an integral part of the gameplay. Most games, especially competitive ones, do benefit from more voice communication to increase efficiency and effectiveness of the team, but Hell Let Loose is also fun for another reason. Since the maps consist of 100 players and there is a lot of stuff going on, there's also a lot of reasons to talk. You are yelling for a medic, you need some supplies from another class, a tank wants infantry to support them, you want to call out enemies, you name it. And while not everyone does it, many players do. This makes Hell Let Loose a game that feels very alive. The other players are not just silent shooting NPCs running around, but you can actually engage in chatter, and many people are up for some banter in game. There's always some players role-playing the moment in a funny way. This makes the game quite a compelling experience, and it's quite easy to make friends. Sure, there are people who find it difficult talking online to strangers, but it makes it a much richer experience. It's actually pretty hard going back to a silent game after playing a lot of Hell Let Loose. The fact that people talk makes it a shared experience and somehow gives the separate moments more meaning. Genuinely funny stuff happens from time to time. The fourth sign that you might enjoy Hell Let Loose is if you appreciate realism in games. I already touched upon it shortly, but the game puts a large emphasis on authenticity and also realism. It's not a full-blown milsim, but if you just want to play a game that really does its best to give you as much of a realistic representation of war as it can, it's Hell Let Loose. The number of soldiers fighting at the same time, the gritty graphics, and large number of insane explosions are really impressive. You won't find any bright colors or flashy camo skins in this game. Apart from the way it looks, the gameplay itself is also focused on a more realistic approach. You often die in one shot, firefights are often from far away rather than up close, and you will have to work as a team as you can Rambo through the map. The way that the communication and teamwork is organized is reminiscent of the military itself, as it has a hierarchical approach. There's one player who is the commander and leads the entire 50-player team. He has a special command radio channel together with the squad leaders so they can discuss the strategy. The squad leaders manage the rest of the classes on the ground and communicate in squad chat. This layered approach makes the game very different from traditional shooters and really gives you a sense of being part of a larger plan. It's not the only game that does this, but it does it well. Another thing that shows the focus on realism are the maps. These are real-world locations where battles of World War II have happened, and they are created with the help of aerial photography. Personally, I think they do look very believable with all of the marshes, forests, creeks and hedges. There are plans to have more introduced with coming updates, including some located in my own country, Holland as well as hopefully at some point the Pacific Theater. The fifth sign that Hell Let Loose might be the game for you is if you don't have the reflexes to compete with people online. Despite reflexes being important in Hell Let Loose and it also having really good players in the servers, you don't need to be super quick to enjoy the game. Overall, the game has a player base whose average age is actually quite a bit higher than comparable games, especially on PC I guess. The community is pretty chill, despite the online discussion of that changing gradually as the game is growing. You will find that the average Held It Loose player is more helpful and friendly than in many other games. Since the gameplay is about a large team working together and everyone having different jobs, there are some jobs that are very useful but don't require twitch shooting. For example, you can take care of logistics, driving a supply truck or building resource nodes as an engineer. You can focus on building spawn points for the team in good locations or play as a medic. These types of jobs are usually well appreciated and you can contribute to a win in an effective way. If you play this game very try-hard, it's a total PTSD simulator and it can be very intense, but many people play it in a more chill way. Just stay clear of the squad leader role, as that one is quite stressful as you have to process a lot of information with multiple channels screaming in your ear. The slow pace and the downtime in the gameplay can make for a pretty relaxing experience. As I mentioned, many people automatically jump in the meat grinder by just walking to the enemy objective on automatic pilot. I recommend just playing defense with your squad, as it's always appreciated and you can just patrol the sectors around the point and often engage enemies on your own terms. This makes the experience less frantic. Anyway, I hope this video gave you a good idea of how Held It Loose would be a good game for you. It's quite unique in how it works and I think many people might enjoy it after trying it. The trick is to not immediately give up if you can't get the right results. The gameplay is not really like the average shooter, so it takes some time getting used to. But believe me, at some point it will click and you will start to see success. So, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and see you in the next one.